Right. Good morning. My story. Bye, Claire. See you later. Claire's just had to. But yeah, Claire's just had to help me do my story. So, first of all, good morning. Good morning. Saturday morning. I just want to say thank you for everybody for sort of liking Claire's story last week. We did that. I'm glad Claire did that story. That was sort of an encapsulation of what's been happening with us for the last few years. So for me, big thank you for everybody that liked and shared. Please keep sharing. Also, it's sort of a bit of a joke. I thought I'd do my story because, again, you know, it's Claire's sort of side, so I thought I'd give it my shot, you know, and sort of say about a little bit about me. I'm not going to go. I'll try not to go into too much detail about our story, again, sort of our journey. So I'm a bit nervous. Just bear with me. Claire made it look so easy last week. I just feel a bit of a wally, a bit just self-conscious of what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So again, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the comments and the shares. Please keep sharing it. But I thought I'd do my video. I want to try and up Claire a bit. I want to try and see if I can get a few more shares and a few more comments. But I thought I'd do it from my perspective, from my point of view. So yeah, 4 years ago I was diagnosed on the 4th of October with pleural mesothelioma, and again it originally started months before in June when I'd become severely anemic. Looked like a carrot. Looked orange, and and just went for investigations over at Addenbrooke's to sort of find out what was going on. And I remember going over for CT scans and being scanned and having a lovely dye put in, and I said we'd come back from holiday, and there was the letter from Patworth. So off we went over to Patworth, wondering what was going on, finding out what was happening, and it all started off there. And like I said, on the 4th we went back. I remember us sitting in the waiting room for ages. It just, I think, like Claire said to me, it was the longest wait we've ever had. So I think we sat there for nearly, 45 minutes, an hour before we finally got sort of taken in. And I can still remember them giving us the news. It was mesothelioma, and it's the first thing is, what's mesothelioma? They explained it was to do with asbestos, and then that's the first thought sort of went into my brain, where I thought, you know, where did they get this from? Where did it come from? You know, asbestos, you know, sort of, well, you know. And like I said, I've said to people before, I can remember when I was little, my dad telling us about asbestos. I think we was in the garden or something, and I remember him showing us a sheet and saying to us it was asbestos, that it's dangerous, that it could kill you, that, you know, it's okay if it's in just the sheet form, but if it's broken and it's, don't go anywhere near it, you know, it will kill you know. And as a kid, I don't know, it just stuck in my brain. I just remembered it being there, and it just stuck in. So when they told me, that's what I remember. I remember that conversation that my dad told me about. So we had to go through everything. And again, I remember like Dr. Buttery at Patworth talking about treatments, and it was a bit of a blur. I mean, when you're given that, when you're told that you've got cancer, you know, at 34, you think, you just, and I can just remember fragments of the conversation, like, you know, that in Canada and America that they remove the lung, and you know they could, you know, and it was just, oh my God, you know, sort of thinking that and everything, and then going through just sort of what you know, sort of treatments and things like that. So it was just sort of, again, it was just a blur, and it was a thing. I remember then we set up the PET scan. I had to go back to Addenbrooke's for a PET scan to see if it was anywhere else in the body, and then just remember the driving home. And I think it's the first time in my life I've ever thought about death. I know it seems a bit morbid and a bit, but it, you know, when you're sitting in a car and you're driving home from that, you know, you start thinking about stupid things, and I thought about death, I think, for the first time in my life. I haven't thought about it since, but you know, it's just, you just realise your mortality, and you know that you're not going to live forever. I always remember being a child thinking, yeah, I'm going to live to 100, you know, I'm going to be, but you know, when you get that, you think, oh God, no. So yeah, so we went for a PET scan, which luckily didn't show anything else, and then I ended up going back to Patworth and seeing the fantastic my surgeon, Mr. Scarchi at Patworth, who was adamant that it was just thickening of the on my diaphragm. So we, like I said, we had the VATs. When they did the VATs, they took about 20 samples, which they sent away, and they did come back and said that it was meso. So then he talked about, he wanted to do the decortisation, so he wanted to basically cut me open and get as much out as he could, and he was like adamant that he was going to get as much out as he could, and he explained it, that mesothelioma is like imagine a balloon with paper mache on it, and he said that's what the tumour's like, and he said it's like trying to peel paper mache off of a balloon. You know, that's how hard. It's not like a big clump that you can go and take. It's all in the lumps and bumps of the lining, because mine's sort of here. It's sort of down on the lining and just on the top of the diaphragm and slightly up here. So he wanted to go in and he wanted to get as much out. So he was like, say, he wanted to get in and he wanted to peel. Hi, Piney. Hi, mate. I can see all the people joining. It's sort of slightly just, you know, but brilliant. Thank you. But it's sort of like all the lumps and bumps sort of going down, and you know, sort of in the pleura. So he wanted to go in and he wanted to try and get as much out, and I can still remember us sitting in his consultant room, and he was like, yeah, I'm going to go in and I'm going to clear everything out and I'm going to take a picture, you know. And that's great, you know, because again, when you get that diagnosis, you want everything you can to help you, you know. You know, with the surgery, I was up for anything, you know. If they wanted me to go, I'd go. I'd think, well, I'll go in, and you do anything, you know, because it's just, I don't know, you're given that, and you sort of, I'm not saying you cling to everything, but you want everything that you can, and you want them to give you every possible chance you can. And I know I've spoken to people at support group that haven't had the surgery. It's only because of my age, because I was young, you know. But I think if you're fit and healthy, I think you should, you know, that you've got to have everything you can. If you could stand the surgery, again, it's them, it's the, you know, like the doctors and the consultants. They think that you can have the surgery. They'll offer it. If not, they give you the chemo, which I did have later. So I had the surgery, and again, from sort of the two, from having fats to surgery, he'd grown. It had grown. So I remember on the morning, because again, another risk was he wanted to completely take my diaphragm out, so we wanted to take that out. So I remember again going back, having that conversation and thinking, and he warned of the risk that by taking the diaphragm out, some of the cells could drop down into my abdomen. So I go, that's a risk, okay. And he also said that by removing the diaphragm, that I'd be breathless for the rest of my life, because as you know, obviously most of the time, you know, the diaphragm is your main muscle that helps you breathe. So you know, by taking half of that muscle away, it would make me breathless for the rest of my life. So again, life changing. You know, you think it over, and you know, again, it's a no-brainer. I want to be here. I don't want it to, you know, I want them to do what they can. I want them to get as much out as they could. So you know, I'm still here, because like, again, it is terminal. You know, it's there. There is no cure. So you know, you want everything that you can, the best that you can. So okay, so we went forward. You know, we went forward with that, and I remember going in for pre-ops and getting everything all sorted for that. Then on the day of operation, going in, and I remember after Claire had left, going in, and Mr. Scarchi basically sort of said, look, I'm not going to remove your diaphragm, I'm going to leave it in. So I'm sort of slightly relieved. I thought, brilliant, you know, because again, you know, you think about the risks, you know, when he said about having it removed and some of the cells going down, you want to try and, I wanted it just to stay where it was. I didn't, you know, wanted it to go anywhere else. So I was slightly relieved, you know. I thought, oh, I'm not going to lose, you know, I'm not going to be breathless, I think, you know. So went up for operation. Obviously came back down, just completely out of it. And yeah, he come and see me the next morning and said that, you know, it had grown between the two, that he got out as much as he could, but you know, he needed me to go for chemo as soon as. And I sort of said, when? He said sort of 6 weeks. And I was a bit like, and I knew that chemo was going to be, yeah, it's tough on anybody, you know. It's not an easy thing to have. From someone who's had it, I wouldn't wish it on anybody, to be honest. You know, it really does take out of you. The thing is with chemotherapy, some people can have chemo and they're fine the next day, and they get up and then go out and feel fantastic, and then a couple of days later they then, you know, they then feel ill. Where in my case, I remember having chemo all day, sort of sitting in, and I remember we sort of went in, and I had the massive bag of saline, because they you have to flush your kidneys, because the thing with the chemotherapy drugs is it can damage your kidneys. So I remember getting there, having this big bag of saline in the hand and everything, and they gave me a water tablet. So I was constantly going back and forwards to the toilet, because I had to weigh my wee. Yes, I had to weigh my wee. Well, I had to wait to see how much was being flushed through. So every time I went, there's a scale in the toilet. So I had to work out. I got back to my bed and I had to sit out and work out what, like, how much wee I, yeah, sorry, I know you didn't want to know that, but tough, you do now. So yeah, so I had to weigh that. So we had this big bag of saline. Then I had my first chemotherapy drug, which was Mesothelioma, which brought me out in hives. So they gave me that, and I was like coming out in all these hives. So they gave me Piriton, and I remember the nurse giving me this Piriton, and it was like, you know, the little tablets. It was like 10 of those. And the thing is, if I take one, I'm like, I'm gone. It makes me drowsy. So she gives me this thing, and I'm like zonked out. It just made me tired. Oh God! So I had Piriton, which was again a very short bag, but then I had my big bag of cisplatin. And again, a couple of hours so that goes through, and they're coming. I can't see it coming back, squeezing it out, you know, getting all the goodness out and everything to squeeze it through. And then I have another bag, and then I had another bag of saline again just to flush everything out. And by that time, then the effects have gone. I've started to take my anti-sickness, or what they gave me at the time on my first round, the anti-sickness to sort of help, because then you do start feeling nauseous. You know, the smell of food is like awful, and you know, things like that. So we finished that, ended up going home, and I ended up throwing up in the car, because that's how it affected me. It just made me feel so sick. Back at Patworth, back at Adam Books the next day, and they gave me this lovely drug called a Prapatin, which is a bit like this horse pill. And as soon as I took that, it stopped. You know, it just, yeah. After that, they left me on a Prapatin. So as we were going for the next round of chemo, after I'd been out of hospital, on the way in, we sort of, just before we get to Cambridge, about 8 o'clock, I'd take in the car, take my tablet in, and that would last for about 3 days, and then I'd come back onto my other anti-sickness drugs and sort of on like that, and then about a week after having chemo, my immune system would drop, so that would go, and then I would have my antibiotics, so to just sort of make sure that I didn't get anything else. And then it was constantly to and back, and then back on the Monday before chemo for a blood test to make sure that everything was okay and everything was alright. And yeah, till the end of to the end of April, and then that finished, and we were back into sort of, like I said, when we went back for that first Patworth appointment in July for the first scan, both me and Claire were adamant that by October I'd be back on chemotherapy again. And here I am, 4 and a bit years later, 5 years in October. I'm still good, still feel great. I do get tired at the end of the day. You know, some days I have to come and have a sleep, but you know, we're enjoying life, like Patworth always used to say. Go and do the things you want to do now while you still can, and I did. So yeah, it's just, it still feels surreal at sometimes, because we go from. We look at the moment, it's 4 months down. We're about 4 months to the next scan, so it's about as far as I can look into the future. I don't, you know, can't see any further than that. You know, I listen to my body. You know, I did have a few twinges just before Christmas and the year before, hence why I had the CT scan beginning of 2016, because occasionally I got a pain in the side. And I'm always conscious of, you know, if I get pain, how long does it last? You know, does it stay in? Patworth always, again, they always say to me, if it's there for more than 3 days, give us a shout, we'll bring you back in and we'll get you scanned. You know, they're fantastic like that. You know, like I said, going to Patworth now, we know everyone there. They're great. They do so much for you. It's nice to walk in and you know everybody. You know, thanks mate, thanks Piney, thanks mate. And it's great to walk in. And see a familiar face, and I know most of the nurses now, like same with my oncologist, Dr. Gilligan. I had a cough before Christmas that I'd had for a while, and we went through one of the appointments, and you know, he listened and said, look, you know, make sure, you know, if it's still there in a few weeks, give us a shout or whatever. So I ended up going back to the doctors, getting antibiotics, and it cleared it up. Because again, if I get something now, it just does it takes me a little bit longer to shake it off. You know, I feel great and fantastic, but it does. I know it's there, and it's always conscious, so I have to, I try, you know, look after myself. So yeah, and yeah, life's going good, life's going great, and you know, like I said, Claire's video last week was fantastic. You know, she just told our story in a nutshell, and I just thought I'd add it from my perspective. And you know, I was at Anglia Ruskin on Wednesday talking to some student nurses about meso, just telling them about my story, and just going through a little bit. This is more of a bit of abbreviation than what I told them. So I think I told them about everything, and it's great, because there was a friend of mine who used to come to support group, Richard. He used to do it. He used to go and do it. Doesn't anymore. So I do it now, and and it's great to tell people about it. We like I said, we don't want to be banging a drum about asbestos. We don't want to be putting it in people's faces, you know, but we just want to raise awareness. Like I said, I never worked with asbestos. I was, you know, I just got it, and I don't want somebody else in the future to end up like myself, that it's not worked with asbestos, that get. I mean, again, I was lucky because mine was found. If I hadn't had that anemia, I wouldn't have known. It still would have been growing inside me now. I'd still be working, and so I wouldn't have known the thing. There's no way of detecting it. You know, it just sits and it's there. It's growing away. You can't detect it. So I was lucky. Mine was discovered when it was. Well, there are people out there now that have got it probably in them growing, and it's sort of saying, I don't do it to scaremonger, but it's just, you know, it's a no-brainer. This is what I said to the nurses there. We need to get it out of schools. We need to make people aware of it. We need to get it out of the schools. We need to get it out of wherever it is, and we need to make aware. It's preventable. You know, they've known about it for a long time. This is the thing about going to support groups. You know, you listen to people. We have people come in and talk, and they talk about this, and we've had solicitors come in and tell us about, you know, how long the government have known about asbestos and where it's been used, and you know, and not telling anybody about it. And that's the thing now when I go to support groups. I met a gentleman yesterday, Bill, at my support group, and he was a carpenter in the late 60s, early 70s, and he worked with it. You know, he told me he just had a hanky over his mouth. You know, but they knew about it. They knew how dangerous it was, but they just didn't tell anybody about it. And it's just, so I am slightly angry a bit, but I don't, like I said, we do what we can. We raise awareness. We try and tell people about it. You know, I just want to, you know, just by doing this video, and like with what Claire, you know, with our story, just to make people aware that it's like I said, although it was banned in 1999, that it's still out there. That it's still in a lot of old buildings. That if people are going in, especially trades, so like the building, you know, builders, carpenters, plumbers, electricians, they know where it is. Like with most schools now, they have an asbestos register. Older schools, so if you can go in, you can see where the asbestos is in the school, and it will tell you where it is. Most of the times it's encapsulated and things like that, but it's just that. But it's still in a lot of, like, you know, not in the floor or ceiling tiles and things like that. It's in a lot of places. We just want to get it rid of. Like I said, they're going to spend thousands. Again, this is the great thing about going to support group. In a couple of years' time, there's going to be a peak of where we're going to get cases through of people with meso, and this is from the 60s, 70s and 80s. These people are now going to be to the point of where, you know, they're going to be to the age of where the meso is going to grow, because it takes between 20 to 40 years to grow. And that's the thing where I said before about it can't be detected, because it just sits and it grows, you know, unless you're repeatedly x-rayed you know, all the time. And now again, I've spoken, I think I remember we went to a big meso conference a few years ago, and I spoke to a doctor there, and I said about x-rays, and I remember him saying quickly to me about, you know, that they did try to do that x-ray, and it didn't seem to pick it up. So these people that work with the asbestos in the 60s, 70s, 80s are going to be starting to develop symptoms. So there's going to be a big peak of people who've worked with it, didn't know what it did, and they're all going to get meso. So there's going to be this big peak through, you know, and then it's just going to fantail off. But just going back, you know, it's prevention. So they're all going to come through. They're all going to have this disease. We all, you know, then the NHS has got, you know, it's the money and stuff. So, you know, with the government, well, let's do a no-brainer. Okay, I know it's going to cost millions of minutes, but let's get it out. Let's spend the money. I know, you know, but let's just do something. Start doing a plan. Start pulling it out of the schools. Start doing something. You know, start going in and start pulling this stuff out of the schools to make them safe for the kids. You know, I don't, like with Ethan, I don't want him to get... I lost my dad through cancer. I was 46, I was 18. I don't, you know, I spend as much time with Ethan as I can, because I love him, I care about him, he's my son. I told, again, the nurses on Wednesday, everybody says they have a bucket list. Well, top thing on my bucket list is just to see my son grow. I just want to see my son grow and get married and have kids. I want to see my grandkids. That's all I want to do. I don't care about anything else. I don't want to travel the world. I don't want to do this, that and the other. I don't care. I just want to see Ethan grow. I lost my dad at 18. I don't want him. I don't want to lose him. I love him. He's the best thing I ever, you know, in my life. I care about him. And Claire. Both. And I don't, you know, I want to see him grow. I want to see him become a man. I want to see my grandkids. That's all I really want to do. That's what I do. That's what I'm trying to do. Anything, you know, doing this video to just show people out there that, you know, it doesn't affect people who are older than me, who are in the 60s and 70s. It can affect somebody in the 30s. You know, I was lucky that mine was discovered. And it's just again, just raising awareness for people, just to show them that, you know, that it doesn't affect older people. It can affect anybody. You know, anybody that's, you know, that's susceptible to measles can get it. And it's just showing, again, I'm waffling a bit, but it's showing that we need to do something about this. That it's preventable. That it can be sorted out if we just took the time and effort to find where it is, to get it, and just to take it out and to stop this and to stop it in its tracks now. You know, and then spend what we've got left on the people who've got it. You know, this terrible disease. Because again, you know, going to support group, I met a gentleman there a few weeks ago that told me that he played with it as a child and just threw up in the air. And like, you know, like we've had the stories. You know, and you just think they knew and they just didn't do nothing, but they never said anything, and it just, you know, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. So, but I keep going, and we keep putting our message out there. And like I said, sometimes I feel like I don't want to be too shouting and banging the drum, but you know, we can prevent this one. This cancer can be prevented. You know, if we just took the time to find where it is, get rid of it, prevent it. You know, it's easy. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm waffling. I just get choked up inside when I think about it. You know, that I've got this, and it's really changed all three of us, me, Claire and Ethan. It's just changed our lives completely. You know, I don't work anymore. I stopped working in 2013. We do what we want to do. You know, I take Ethan to school. You know, at least I'm getting to see him grow up. That's the least I can be thankful. I know, you know, cancer came, but I'm spending more time with my son. I get to take him to school. I get to stay with him at school and do stay and learn. So I'm thankful for that. At least I'm not missing out on that. So, you know, but yeah, and I've been stable. You know, I said next X-ray or next one will be end of May, and we're doing well. And I regularly support our Mesothelioma social group over at Patworth, and meet people there, and we're doing this, and this is why I decided to do this. I know Claire, you know, Claire did her, like I said, she did her story last week, which was again fantastic. It's great. She really, you know, did a really great job on that, because she goes into all of our story and tells everything about, sort of from start to finish. And I just thought I'd just jump in and just do a few things here and there, and just talk about little bits and bobs about me and about what we've got and what's happening. So, well, I think what I'll do is I'm going to end it there, because I don't want to say too much more, because like I said, Claire did a really brilliant job last week. But share it. Please, you know, please share, please comment. I'd love to hear some comments. Love to definitely share it. Just share it to the heavens. I just want people to see about just me, just for my side. Again, she's my carer. She looks after me, and you know that's her. You know, because it doesn't affect me. It affects everybody. It affects everybody. You know, it affects Claire. It affects my wife. It affects Ethan. Ethan knows about it. Ethan understands about it. We've told Ethan about what I've got. He knows I've got a cancer. He knows I go to the hospital, and we were watching. And Claire was doing her video last. We were watching Up, and in the story, obviously, if you've seen Up, there's the old man in it and his wife, and you see their life go through, and then she ends up dying, and he's on his own. And Ethan asked me and said, "Well, where's she gone? She died?" And I went, "Yes, mate." And he just sort of said to me, he said, "You're going to die?" And I said, "Yes, mate, I will die." I said, "Well, we all die, Ethan. We don't live forever." And he said, "I don't want you to die, Daddy." And I said, "I know." And he's 6, but I want him to understand what I had. I want him to see. I want him to have the truth, the facts. I don't want it. I want him to understand what meso is, so he knows about it, that he understands about it. So then, if anything does happen to me, that he's not left without questions. That he understands. What his dad was. Who I was and what I was like, and that. I try to remain upbeat and positive, and I do. I don't let it get me down. Never will. I've got. Like I said, when you've got a 6-year-old little boy, and you keep going. He keeps me going. He keeps me going. He keeps me here. He keeps me grounded. He keeps me grounded here in the here and now. Because again, I could want to sit here and wallow in self-pity and feel sorry for myself, or I could just go and walk out in the street now and just say that's it. And I'm not, because there's plenty worth fighting for in this life, and and we got to keep going. You've got to remain positive and upbeat. I know sometimes it's hard. It is hard, but you got, that's my dad used to say, you got to fight. Just got to fight. If they want me, they're gonna have to come and get me kicking and screaming, because I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna do whatever I can and just keep going, and again raise awareness, and we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, with treatments, they're making great advances in treatments at the moment. We've got Keytruda going on at the moment, going on great. There's an immunotherapy drug. They're talking about gene therapy, BAT1, which could be a link to meso and melanoma. So this is the best thing about going to especially to the big meso patients and conference that Meso UK run. Anybody out there that's never been, I highly recommend going, because it's great, because you get the doctors in the morning and they talk about all the latest treatments and where they are with research and everything like that, and then in the afternoon we get the fantastic patients and carers. So you get stories from people who, like myself, who've had meso and where they've gone with their journey, and it's a lot of them are inspirational. I met David last year, David Stately, he's a fantastic man he is, and just inspirational. You do meet a lot of people, a lot of fighters, a lot of warriors, because meso warriors, just fantastic, absolutely great, and they do a fantastic job of what they're doing. They put information out there for other people like myself, especially Mavis. Hello Mavis. Sort of putting all the information out there. She's the font of knowledge. You need anything, you ask our Mavis. She knows everything. And she's fantastic, and and that's what I mean. And this is the best thing. Again, having this disease, it's changed my life completely. But I've met some really great people through it. I've met some really good friends through it. And it's just and they're just fantastic. So, right, I'm going to end it there now, because I think I've waffled too much. But definitely share this video. Comments definitely, please. And maybe I'll do another one. So I don't know. I was a bit reluctant to this because I didn't know what to say. Like I said, she's going to kill me, but Claire did a fantastic job last week with her video, and I didn't think I could top it. And I hate writing. I'm rubbish at writing things on Facebook. That's why you never see me put anything on there, because I just don't know. Sometimes I just don't know what to say. I want to say things, but I find it hard to write things down. Doing a video, it's easier. I can just let it flow out. Okay, I waffle, but it's me, and that's just how I am. I just let it. It just comes out as it has. Sometimes I might say the same word over and over and over again, but it's just how I am. That's me. That's how I talk. So. But yeah, definitely please share this out, and and yeah, leave us some comments. I'd love to see some, you know. So, but thank you very much, and hopefully, maybe I might do this again soon. Okay, take care. I will have a good Saturday and a good weekend, and I'll speak to you all soon. See you later.